Oh, Danny, make sure you follow me and inbox me too, because I got a verse that I want to read to you where God said Israel was even worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. So
No,
they the
I'm
original
already knowing, bro. I'm
they the
already knowing.
original faggots. They the original LGBTQ squad.
I'm already knowing, but they still the elect though. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy
All
to
right,
me that though. They
all right.
still the elect.
God said they
Danny,
made Sodom look
Danny
righteous. That's
cut
how
him real
terrible they
quick.
Wait,
were.
let's.
Danny,
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
but you
read.
need
Danny,
to
I'm gonna
read the
before
read
you
this.
context to that,
go,
my brother. That had nothing to do with homosexuality. I think you might be infatuated with
No,
that or
yes it
something,
does,
but
because it says
that's not what the
abomination.
context is.
And
The context
in
has to do
Leviticus
with
18:22,
inhospitality is the
abomination is a
context.
sin.
Has
And
nothing
it
to
said they
do
committed
with
abomination. Leviticus
homosexuality. So just slow down for a
18:22
second, my
says
brother.
abomination is a sin.
Slow
So
down.
you just got
You
taught
thought you had a
again
W with that one, but
and
now you got
again
to
and
hold this
again.
L.
What?
So look, check it,
What?
right?
Be quiet, boy.
Anybody get that scripture, right? You see this? This is what you do with dudes that are soft, right? They try to talk hard on a virtual app. So we're gonna deal with the scripture. So let's get that scripture that talks about that, and we're gonna
Mm.
handle that. If you can grab that for me, Corey, let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah, I got it. Going straight over there too.
You don't even know what it is. It's in Ezekiel
Oh, I got it.
16,
Ezekiel 16.
48 through
I got
51.
it.
You don't
I
even know
got it,
what verse
bro.
it is.
I got it. You don't have to talk at all. Trust me.
Donkey brains.
Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 48. As I live, saith the Lord God, Sodom thy sister hath not done, she nor her daughters, as you have done, you and your daughters. Behold, this was the iniquity of your sister Sodom: pride, fullness of bread,
Wait. Homosexuality. Show me if that's in there. Keep reading.
pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her and in her daughters.
No. Homosexuality, brother. You're not reading that right. Read that again.
Pride, pride, fullness of bread, and the abundance of idleness was in her and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy, and
So
they were
you can stop.
haughty.
You could even stop there. So I want the brother to show us where this has anything to do with homosexuality. Let's go.
You stopped him before he got to it because you knew you was about to get
Keep
cut. So
reading.
you
Keep reading.
allow
Keep
me to
reading.
speak
Keep reading.
because you said, okay, I'll keep reading.
No, keep
I'll
reading.
keep reading. Now watch this.
And
So before
Bro, the
Divine
reader's
Slow
Prospect,
gonna
down.
keep golden.
You gotta
hold
read it
The
on,
already.
reader
Let
Hey,
the
gonna
reader
hey,
read.
read.
Maul, you cut me off for
No,
less, bro.
no,
Why y'all not
I'm
control?
I'm cutting.
he
I'm
passed
cutting.
me
I
the
just cut
mic.
him off. I said
I'm
let's
gonna show
hold
him
on.
where.
Let him hold on. Let him
Hold
keep
on.
reading.
He
verse
just gonna keep
50,
reading. Yeah.
Ezekiel chapter 16 and verse 50. And they were haughty and committed abomination before me.
Abomination. What is abomination?
Therefore,
Go to Leviticus 18:22. The abomination. Yes, it did list those other sins, but when it says abomination is homosexuality. You've been cut, boy.
Yo, hold on, family. Yo, this dude is wild. Okay, this is what I want y'all to do, right? Go to BibleHub.com and we're gonna look up that word abomination. This dude said abomination means homosexuality. So when
I
the
got
Most High tells Israel that certain things they are not to do as an abomination to them, at every time y'all read that, put homosexuality in it. That's what this dude was saying. Somebody pull
I,
up the definition. Let's read homosexual
It says
abomination.
an
Let's see what
I
it means
got
for
abomination,
homosexuality.
which includes all
Slow
abominations.
down,
It
sir.
didn't say one
Somebody pull up the
abomination. It
lexicon.
Hold
Let's
said
on.
get the
I
an
got
facts
it.
on the
Golden.
table.
abomination, which is a
Golden.
collective of
Golden.
abomination.
Golden. You made
Hey,
it
I
clear.
got it.
I got it
Let's
out.
Danny,
substantiate it
not
with
you,
the
man.
Bible.
You gotta
Let's
wait.
substantiate it with the
There's
Bible.
7
Danny, you gotta
abominations. It's
mute
haughty
up.
eyes, a lying tongue.
Danny, you gotta mute.
I
This is
got it
not.
What
out.
you?
This is not your conversation. This is Golden's
What
conversation.
they? Man, they asked you. All right, whatever,
Danny,
bro. You just mad I be eating you,
homosexuality is a
Maul.
part of the abomination. You right, Danny. The dude is cut, man. He may as well take a knife and slice through his own windpipe before I do it.
I got it out. And I just put it in the room chat. So look, it's H8441 in the Brown Driver Briggs. First definition: a disgusting thing, abomination, abominable, in a ritual sense of unclean food, idols, mixed marriages. 1B, in ethical sense of wickedness. That is it.
Salakia. So the Strong's
So
definition
what I
of
want,
I'm gonna give you
Maybe
Strong's.
the
I'm gonna give
brother
you.
has a different lexicon that we don't have. So, Golden, I want you to show us where abomination means homosexuality, sir. Show us a definition in the word.
Mm.
Is homosexuality an abomination? Yes. But is that the definition of abomination? No. You're reading into the text.
Abomination, even in the
Slow down,
definition,
sir.
it says something detestable. And homosexuality is falls under the umbrella of something that is detestable.
And
Okay?
so does mixed marriages. And so does laying on the
Oh,
bed after
mixed
your wife has a
marriages? But
menstrual. And so
you
does
say that
eating
a child from
unclean
a white
food.
woman
And so
is
does all
100%
the other laws that
Israelite.
says things are abominable. But that is not the context of
You say Blake
Ezekiel.
Griffin's
Ezekiel does
son
not
is
mention
100%
anything about
Israelite.
homosexuality.
Don't you
You
say
want to see
Blake
it in the
Griffin's son
text
is
because you're
100%
infatuated with
Israelite?
it, and that's where
So
we
how
at
can you
right
say mixed
now.
marriages?
End game, sir.
How
Let's
can you
go
say
to the
mixed
next thing.
marriages? You say Blake Griffin's son is 100%
Golden,
Israelite. That
golden.
means you
Don't
can get
change
rid
the
of every
subject.
black woman
Guy
today
going
and
crazy,
Golden,
man.
Israel
He
would
can't
still
even
golden,
back
live.
up Ezekiel.
golden,
He's done.
Yeah, just got
golden.
these.
1 second, golden. Let's just stay in Ezekiel. So right here, do you at least get the argument, golden, that divine is making with the term abomination right here? What is the argument?
I hear exactly what he's saying, but what he's trying to do,
What is the argument?
he's
What
not.
is the
He's trying
argument?
to say that my point is when you read the definition of abomination, it's telling you that detestable things. So he cannot say that homosexuality is not something that is detestable
That's
because it
fair.
is in the sight of God. It tells you
Golden,
that in Leviticus
golden,
18:22.
golden,
So the
golden.
dude is cut.
That's fair. Slow down. Just slow down. That's
And
fair.
I'm gonna show you how you
But
being
then
deceptive. 'Cause
golden, golden.
When Christ called
Calm down.
the woman a dog,
Don't. Your mind is just moving. Don't worry about the Christ and the dog when Ezekiel 16.
yeah, but you
Don't
trying
worry
to hold
about it
me
right
to a
now. Hold
criteria
on.
that you don't even.
Hold on. We're dealing with Ezekiel 16, brother. You moving like just hold on. So right here, if you're saying that he can't say that it's not, can you say that it is? Because it only says abomination. So that just means detestable things. But it doesn't give clarity to which abominations. So couldn't it be that you're just implying that that was the abomination?
You can ask yourself the same question. Could it be that you are implying, because you're getting destroyed in an argument, that homosexuality was not
He's not
the
even dealing with the
abomination that it's speaking
context.
about?
So, Corey, give me a
You
second.
got a
Corey, look,
gun. You got a
I
gun
want
with
to just let the
barrels
audience know.
one at
Hold
you
on,
and one
Golden.
at me.
1 second, brother. I just want the audience to know that the context determines the semantic value of the word being used in the passage. So we just read the context. The context lays out the things that is being specified as detestable. It's not saying homosexuality in there. If you see that in chapter 16,
No, it does.
please
It
pull
says,
that out.
and
So wait, brother, slow down.
in
So what I'm saying
15,
is there were many things that they did in Sodom and
all right, they're
Gomorrah
not going to
that's
let me speak.
detestable. However, wait, slow down, brother. Hold on 1 second. However, the context is telling you the things
No, it doesn't.
specifically
It says,
that Israel did. Okay,
and
brother,
is a
slow down for one
conjunction.
second. Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I just moved them down.
Yeah,
Finish your
he's not
statement,
letting me
and then
talk.
we'll.
He's over talking the mods and me. So just
Yeah,
so people
yeah.
can, if you give me a moment, Corey, just so that people can understand, all we have to do is read context, right? Golden, they gonna bring you back up in a second. Context is key. Can anybody read in chapter 16 of Ezekiel where homosexuality is mentioned and it is being likened unto Israel? Because in Sodom and Gomorrah, the only sin that people think the only sin they did was just homosexuality. That's not true. There were other things that they committed there that the Most High saw as detestable. But when it came to Israel, he lays out in Ezekiel chapter 16 the things that Israel did, liking unto Sodom and Gomorrah, that he does not like. He's specific. The text is specific. Homosexuality is not there. So when people read that into it, right? Because remember, we read the definition of abomination, nothing about homosexuality, just something that is disgusting or detestable. Well, mixed marriages is disgusting and detestable, right? A woman on her period and a man sleeping in bed with her, that's detestable, right? Unclean foods is detestable, right? So what are we talking about? Well, the context of the passage has to determine how we're defining what is abominable. And in the case of what we just read, homosexuality is nowhere near there. So for somebody to come and say, come on, some kind of slander on Israel, saying that, oh, they were the first LBGT, that means they have an agenda against our community. They're not being authentic to the text, and they eisegeting the passage to align with their agenda. And I'm done.
So when he says that that passage says all abominations, do you have a point of like contention versus that, or is it like not all abominations, or is it all abominations?
Okay, so again, when we read the context lays out what those abominations are. So when we see a word like kal, which in the Hebrew means all, it's in reference to whatever was specified, right? So if I tell you I have a shirt that's red, green, blue, and orange, and all those colors I hate, all those colors are detestable, all the shirts that I have I don't like. Well, I'm only speaking about the ones that I listed. I can't be talking about something that I don't have. I'm only talking about the ones that I have listed. So out of all the things that was listed there, we just read it. Those are the abominations that they were being judged for that was likened unto Sodom and Gomorrah. Not one place do you see where homosexuality is mentioned. That's all I'm saying.
Right,
Now, if you see it there, please show it to me. I'm
right,
game. I'm correctable.
right. And right there in the text, it doesn't say all abominations. That's important to understand. It doesn't say that in
Right.
50. It doesn't say that in the first part of 51. And the second part of 51 is what you're addressing. And it says, and has justified thy sisters in all thine abomination which thou hast done.
There you
That's
go.
what it
Thank you, my brother.
doesn't say all you've done. It doesn't say you've done all the abominations I can think about. It doesn't say that. It says has justified thy sisters in all the abominations that thou has done. It's totally different things. Uh, damn, what
Reading
a smoke
comprehension
though.
is very important, man. That's bad, bro. They come on stage after they're gonna do something, right? They can't even read with comprehension. You got to look at the context. They just come in with a dogma because they have an issue against Israel when they don't realize that Israelites wrote your text that you're reading, bro.
Okay, Corey, he spoke. Now it's
It's
my goal.
crazy.
I'm gonna show you
Oh, wait. So you know
element
what? The prophets were all homosexuals then.
divine. Let me
There we
show you
go.
an element.
All
No,
the
don't try to use
apostles were
sensationalism to get out
homosexuals
of it.
because they're Israel
See,
as
now you
well.
was
Let's
complaining
do
about
that.
me speaking
Right.
over you. Now you had your chance. Now it's my goal to speak.
Go ahead,
So
King. Do
allow
your
me to
We'll
thing,
speak.
yo.
give you 2 minutes, man. We'll give you 2 minutes.
All right, check this out. This dude thinks he's smart, but he made an elementary mistake because when you go to verse check this out. When you go to verse 48. No, 49, it tells you even before it start listing those things that this was the iniquity. It doesn't say this was the abomination. It gave a list of iniquities. It says, behold, this was the iniquity of the sister Sodom. Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. Then verse 50, watch this. And this is in conjunction to the iniquities. Verse 50, and is a conjunction. And they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Therefore, I took them away as I saw good. So now it's a clear separation in the passages between iniquities, which were listed, then it went to abomination. And we all know in the Bible, remember, line upon line, precept upon precept, what was the abomination of Sodom and Gomorrah? Well, sodomy. That's where we get the word sodomy from the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. And then when you read further down, it tells you that Israel was so bad that they made Sodom look righteous. Dagger to the chest, boy.
All right. So slow down, guy. So here's the thing, right? First of all, I think who was that? That was a Star Power TV that said all abominations. That's what he said, right? That's what you
Yeah,
say, Star Power.
yeah.
Yeah, I was
Okay. And what verse?
asking.
What
I
verse
was
was that?
asking for golden because he had brought that out, and I just wanted you guys to clarify that part. So I just
Yeah, yeah,
asked.
yeah. So
Yeah, when it
yeah.
say when it say
Hold on 1 second. You
Yeah,
said dagger, so
it's
that was your
DP's
exclamation
turn
point.
for 2 minutes. It's his turn.
Yeah, so let me go. So I'm gonna read it in context, right? And I'm gonna show that that word abomination there is singular. It's not plural, so it's not all inclusive. It's talking about something in particular. But let me read it, all right? As surely as I live, declares the Lord God, your sister Sodom and her daughters never did as you and your daughters have done. Now, this was the iniquity of your sister Sodom. It's telling us what Sodom did, right? This is their iniquity. Their iniquity was they were arrogant, overfed, and complacent, and they did not help the poor and needy. That is the iniquity of Sodom, okay? Thus they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Singular. It's in the feminine singular. Anybody can look it up in the interlinear, right? Therefore, I remove them as you have seen. So he's not pointing out homosexuality here. We're not denying that that is something that occurred. But the reason why, according to this context, that they were removed, he laid it out. They were arrogant, overfed, complacent, did not help the poor, and they were haughty. And this was an abomination to Yah. That is why he removed them. There's no mention of homosexuality in this context. It's not there.
Wait,
You have to
okay,
read it
hold
into
on
the
real quick.
context. Sure.
Real quick, Divine, because I'm
No,
struggling with this a little
when it
bit.
says an abomination, abomination is all of the abomination, and we know through scripture that the abomination that Sodom committed was sodomy. It says, and abomination. It separated those iniquities from the abomination. What he's trying to do is play a game of mystery. Well, which abomination was it? So he can't defeat me with no mystery game because the context of the scriptures show us that Sodom committed sodomy. And Leviticus 18:22 will tell you that homosexuality is an abomination. You lost this one, Devon. There's no way out of it, man. You've been
Nah,
destroyed.
there's no losing this one, my brother. You have there's a lot of difficulties you're gonna have with the text, right? If we parse it out, and I'm trying to refrain from you having an early funeral, right? So I'm just dealing with it cursory, right? And on the surface, and I'm trying to show you proper exegesis, if that's what you're attempting to do, dictates that you define words based on the context in which it is used, unless it's something like a hapax legomenon or something where it's only referenced once or something's ambiguous and unclear. And in this case, it lays out for you what those iniquities are. And then in the next passage, or what we call a clause, and references the term haughty. The connection to abomination being singular is not addressing all the previous four that we saw as them as being inhospitable, but it's referring to the haughtiness, my brother. It's in the same clause. Now, do you want to get more technical with that? We can, and I can demonstrate it to you in the language that is there. All I'm saying to you is you're reading something into the text that's not there, and there's no justification in the passage for you to say that Israel was a homosexual nation, bro. You wilding right now.
Divine. So if listen to yourself, man. I'm not even trying to argue right now. You're not making sense, and I know you're smarter than this. If one of the things that made Sodom and Gomorrah be destroyed was homosexuality, then if you're telling me that God destroyed them, or if you're telling me that God is you make them look righteous, and that's why I said and abomination, because Israel could not make them look righteous without doing no homosexuality, which is an abomination. It's nowhere in the world. You can't go no lower than a man sticking his you know what up the ass of another man. So that's how we know, because God says that they were less righteous than the people of Sodom and Gomorrah. It's all up in your face, man. You just don't want to accept it because it make Israel look bad. So I won this, man. Move on.
So pause. Nothing's all up in my face, bro. So we're gonna pause on that. But look, let me check this, right? So this is how we're gonna deal with this, right? So you can understand. I just want to give you a very basic concept. Maybe you're not that familiar with the law, or maybe you are, who knows? But let me ask you a question, right? If you commit murder, is that a capital offense that requires capital punishment in Israel? Yes or no?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So if you steal, is that a capital offense that will require capital punishment? Yes or no?
Yes, it is.
If you commit witchcraft, is that a capital offense that will require capital punishment? Yes or no?
Yes, under the curse of the old
So,
law.
so the key thing is homosexuality and murder, right? Are
Hmm.
they equal in the eyes of the law in ancient Israel? Yes or no? As far as how they're punished.
No, because God said that homosexuality
Wait,
is
what?
a
Okay,
abomination.
so let's see if
Abominations are
witchcraft is
worse
an abomination.
than
Hold on,
other
hold on, hold on,
sins.
hold on. Whoa,
Huh?
slow down, my brother. Slow
Read
down.
Leviticus 18:22. That's an abomination.
Okay,
It's no way that God can
hold on,
say Sodom.
brother.
All right,
Brother, slow down for
go
one
ahead.
second.
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
so in Deuteronomy chapter 18, verses 10 to 14, is witchcraft an abomination? Yes or no?
Is witchcraft an
If you need
abomination?
us to read it, we can read it for you, my brother.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Is it an
Go ahead and
abomination?
read it. Go ahead and read it. I don't mind you doing that. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem,
Deuteronomy
King.
chapter 18, verses 10. There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination, or an observer of times, or an incanter, or a witch, or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer. For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Lord. And because of these,
Uh-oh. Wait. No, slow down, Paul. Hold on. So you telling me there's other things that could be considered an abomination and not just homosexuality?
con,
Is that was Oh, okay, cool.
Who
So
said it was?
let's
Who
do
said
this,
it
right?
wasn't? Who
Hold
said
on,
it wasn't
brother.
of
Hold
the
on. Wait,
Who said it wasn't?
slow down. Go, then I
Who said
got
it
you.
wasn't?
Slow down, my brother. Let me ask you a question, right? Because I asked you all of those things for a reason, because the things that
Yeah,
I named to you are all
but
considered
there was even a
abominations
death
that have.
penalty. Javon. There was even a death penalty for homosexuality.
Exactly, my brother. That's the point that I'm trying to
Right.
tell you. Homosexuality
But
is
I
not a
don't get
greater
your
sin
point.
than what we just read, my brother. They're the same. They're both punishable by death. That is the highest extent of a penalty you can receive for committing any act of grievance against the Most High. There's nothing more greater than that. You can't do anything greater than getting killed for
But
something,
here's my
right?
point. Here's my
Same
point,
thing with
Javon.
rape.
Here's my point. We know that the Sodomites, people of Sodom and Gomorrah, that they committed homosexuality. So
Now, wait.
that's
Let me
why
ask you a
Christ
question.
said, that's why the Bible, you
Hold on,
cut me
brother.
off,
Look.
Javon. Hold
No, I'm cutting you off
up.
because I want clarity. Can you show me, watch this, can you show me,
Uh-huh.
right, where an act of homosexuality was committed in Sodom? Because now I'm just gonna mess with your head now because I want to see like where you're at with this. Give me the scripture that shows me where an act of homosexuality was committed in Sodom. Can you give me a
All
passage
right,
that says that?
yeah, one second. Let me pull it up. Let me pull it up. Give me one second.
We're giving
Give me
you
one
the
second.
time.
God First Gang Radio.
Damn, son, where'd you find that?
Where did you find that?
We're still waiting, Golden.
Trapaholic.com.
What are you guys looking for, real quick?
We're still waiting.
What was the question, Divine? Ask again.
Genesis 19. We go to Genesis 19. Hold up.
Okay. So let's let them get it. All right, Genesis 19. Show me where an act of homosexuality was committed.
All right, let's go to Genesis 19.
No problem, brother. Go ahead.
I can read it for you, Golden. What
No,
you
no,
want?
I want to read my own stuff. I don't need nobody reading for me. I don't like that. Let me read my own stuff.
All right, what you got?
All right, we can go to KJV. All right, we can go to Genesis 19, 1 through 11. And there came two angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he
Could you
said,
stop right there,
Behold,
right quick? Just right quick.
huh?
You said you're gonna read 1 to 11.
Yeah,
All right, quick question. And you do understand the question that he has, right?
yes, yes.
All right, no problem. Go ahead.
Okay. And he said, Behold, now my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house, and he made them a feast, and did bake unleavened bread, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot and said unto them, Where are the men which came in to thee this night? Bring them out unto us that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door unto them and shut the door after them and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold, now I have two daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these, only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. And they said again, This one fellow came in to sojourn, and he will needs be a judge. Now will we deal worse with thee than with them? And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. But the men put forth their hand and pulled Lot into the house to them, and shut to the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both
Uh,
small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. So
uh,
there you have the act of
hold
homosexuality.
Oh, wait,
These
wait, wait,
men,
wait. The act? Wait, hold on.
yes,
Slow down, my brother.
yes,
on.
So
Maybe
the
yes.
Divine,
so
you may have to repeat the question.
yeah, so the question I asked is, show
Mhm.
me a passage that shows that the act of homosexuality was committed in Sodom. That's all I asked.
I just showed you those men, they had sexual desire, which is a sin for the same type of gender as them. And they were struck blind when they tried to go into the house because they wanted to have sex with those men. And that's why he offered his daughters instead and was like, Don't touch them, do with my daughters as you please. Because what Christ tell us is you can sin inside of your heart. You can commit adultery inside of your heart. So what happened is they entertained the lustful feeling of homosexuality. Therefore, they sinned already. So they were in the sin of homosexuality. So you're not gonna sit up and tell me that if you
So
land down at
okay,
night, hold up. You're not gonna tell me that if you
wow.
land down at night and you start looking at gay porn that you haven't committed homosexuality. That is
Okay,
homosexuality, bruh.
okay.
That's
So slow down,
homosexuality.
sir.
And if you
Slow
say
down,
it's
sir.
not,
Slow,
if you
slow
say
down.
it's
Slow
not, I
down.
gotta question your
Slow
manhood.
down. Slow down. Slow down. Slow
I'm
down.
slowed down.
You
I'm just
getting
saying, if you say it's
brother,
not,
brother,
then I gotta
brother, we
question your
already know
manhood.
what you mean by that. You don't have to be so explicit like that's something that you do. So let's just keep that off the table, right? So what I all I said to you is again, I'm an Israelite, right? Homosexuality is against the scripture. We're against that. The text is very clear about that, right? The question that I asked you was, show me the act being committed. Now you're gonna admit to say no, they didn't physically do it. They attempted to, they desired to, but they did not physically commit the act. But I want to show you something real quick in the previous passage, okay? So let's go to Genesis chapter
They
18.
did commit the
All right,
act, Devon. That is homosexuality.
brother,
They did
brother.
commit
Okay,
Golden,
homosexuality.
okay,
just
okay,
just
okay.
yield, you know, you
I
just
want to
read
show you
11
something, my
verses.
brother.
Let them get it in.
Thanks, Corey. So I want to show you something, okay? So go to Genesis chapter 18. You still there, Golden?
I ain't running. I don't run. You heard us on my
I
big
never
move.
said that. I just asked if you was there. Just yes or
I ain't
no.
never
That's all, my
said
brother.
because you ain't saying nothing. You trying to prove to me? I got to find out what you're doing.
Oh,
You trying to prove
God.
to me that having lust for men is not homosexuality? That's
Golden,
what you're saying.
golden,
Brother, I
don't
never said
brother.
that, sir. You need
Just
to slow
calm
down for a
down.
You never
second.
said.
Man,
Just wait. It's not your turn. Like you just took your turn and you took your 5.5 minutes reading 12 verses.
Okay.
Let divine let him go, brother. Like it's not that deep. So all he asked was you with him. It was an act of it was a just he was just being respectful. It's not that deep. Go ahead, divine.
Thank you. I was just seeing if you here, Sora. So the reason why I'm saying this to you is because if we're connecting everything together, then we have to look at the context and we have to look for what we call plural nouns. That's important, right? So I'm gonna read Genesis chapter 18, and I'm gonna go to verse 16. Okay. And it says, when the men got up to leave, they looked over Sodom, and Abraham walked along with them to see them off. And then the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I'm about to do? Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation, and through him all the nations of the earth will be blessed. For I've chosen him so that he will command his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just, in order that the Lord may bring upon Abraham what he has promised. Verse 20. Then the Lord said, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is great because their sin is so grievous. I will go down to see if their actions fully justify the outcry that has reached me. If not, I will find out. My question to you, right? This is my question to you. The things that we see in Ezekiel 16, was that being committed here in Sodom? Is that what is being referenced here in verse 20 and 21? What's being referenced here in verse 20 and 21?
In what passage? Are you in Genesis?
Brother,
Or
Genesis, were you reading with us? I'm not sure if, okay, so Genesis
Genesis
chapter
19.
18, I just read several passages. I'm not sure if you were present, but I read from verse 16 to verse 21, my brother. And I asked you a question based on what I just read. Would you like me to read it again?
Yeah, tell me the book, chapter, verse.
Brother, I just said Genesis chapter 18. Wait, are you here with us? I don't know what's going on right now, brother. Are you distracted? Do you need a moment?
Yeah.
You said Genesis 18, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's where we were at. That's what I said about a couple minutes ago. It was we referenced it, Genesis 18. I read verses
Okay.
16 to verse 21. Okay,
Let's
are
go
you
there.
there?
Let's go there. Genesis 18, because you in a hole and you're trying to dig your way out of it. So let's go to Genesis 18. So you
What are
trying to
you
prove me
talking
that
about, brother? I asked you a question. You just added
Genesis
all this
18,
extra
where?
stuff.
I'm at 18. Genesis 18. I'm there. I'm
Okay,
there.
no problem. I read verses 16 to verse 21, and I asked you a question based on
All right,
verses
let me read
20
it.
and
I want to read it
21.
for myself because I don't know what version of the Bible you read. So
Brother, we
16
just
through
read
20.
it. Yo, bruh, man, you're not okay. Go ahead, you read it then. Oh, this is crazy.
All right, and the
Okay, brother.
man rose up, and the men rose up from thence and looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham that thing which I do? Seeing that seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him that he will command. Oh, I see another cut. This was another topic. Okay. Seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. Okay. Woo, I'll save that for something later. Wow. For I know him that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, that the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him. And the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their face. Okay, what's your point? I'm not seeing what's your point.
Okay, you don't see my point because you're not paying attention. So I'm gonna ask you the question one more time. Just
Yeah,
please
go
pay
ask the
attention, my
question.
brother. Okay, brother, just follow what I'm saying. All right, just slow down. So what I
Right,
asked was in verses 20 to 21, right? The
right,
things that we read in Ezekiel chapter 16 about the sins of
right,
Sodom, iniquity of Sodom, is that
right.
included what we're reading in verses 20 and 21? Yes or no?
Sin is very grievous that they did. It's just saying that their sin was so much that it was grievous. So it just encapsulated all of the sins in one, and it said their sin.
So, my
And
brother,
this
is
gonna get
that a
you.
yes or no to the question? That's all I'm asking. A yes or no
Ask
to the
the question
question.
again.
Okay, so the
Yes.
question is, we're reading Ezekiel chapter 16 and all the
Uh-huh.
iniquities that was laid out about Sodom, and then it mentions haughtiness. And in verses 20 and 21 in Genesis 18, is this inclusive of their sin? That's what I'm asking, is yes or no?
Well, I would say, according to what you said earlier, and this is where you shot yourself in the foot. It says sin singular, just like you said. It didn't say abominations plural. So, according to your logic, the answer would be no. Remember, you said that. See how it came back to bite you? Ha ha. Because this says sin. It doesn't say sin. So you just defeated yourself again. Just shot yourself in your shell to Adidas. So come back and try again. Because it says sin singular, and that's the same thing you was trying to do earlier when it said abomination, trying to be slick, even though you knew that the abomination, based upon what Sodom did and the sodomy and the passage of scripture that I just read to you, that is no way that Israel can outdo the things of Sodom and Gomorrah without also committing all of the sodomy and things that they did. So you just got
That's
yourself
that's
busted,
that's
Divine. It
that's
says
that's not
sin
true. That's not
singular.
true.
Sin
Brother, slow
singular,
down.
not
Slow down,
sins.
sir.
You
Slow down
deport
for one
yourself.
second.
Ha ha
Just
ha.
slow down, my
Go
brother,
go
because
to
you sound like a
yeah.
straight clown from out of a comic book somewhere. So let's just slow down for a
Yeah, because
second.
I'm
Let's stick to the
clowning you.
text.
That's the
All
whole
the
point.
ad libs is unnecessary, my brother. Okay, I got you. I got you. Okay, so let's slow down for a second, okay? So, are you familiar with what inhospitality is in the ancient Greece? Like things that were done that was inhospitable, that was expected to be done? And this is why you got to read context and know culture, which maybe you're not familiar with, but we'll walk through it together.
So you gonna jump over the
What are one
fact.
of the most grievous, brother, slow down for a second. What's one of the most grievous acts in the ancient Greece that could be done whenever a stranger is passing through your community?
You said what's the most grievous act in ancient culture that can be done when a stranger is passing through your community? Is that what you just asked me?
That's exactly what I asked you, my brother. And it's the same reason why the Most High was mad with Esau
It
or the
depends on
Edomites.
what culture you're talking about. In some cultures, it's
Brother,
wearing your
we're
hat inside
talking
of a building.
about the Bible. So,
Well, you
brother,
didn't
slow
say the
down for a
Bible.
second, brother.
Did you say
Brother,
the
listen, I'm gonna
Bible?
say it again. I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna say it again. Yes, because Israelites are part of the ancient Near East. Okay, so I'm gonna say it one more time. Okay, just pay attention to what I'm saying. Right?
Well,
What are the most? What
be
is
more
one of the
precise this
most?
time, okay? Be more
What
precise this time.
is, brother? Everything I say is precise, but I just need you to
If it
focus.
was
Right?
precise, you wouldn't
What
have to
is one of
repeat it.
the most? Brother, I have to repeat because a person like you is not understanding. So
No,
I'm
because you
patient,
didn't
right? So
mention
I'm
the Bible.
persistent,
That's why you're repeating it, and I corrected you on
brother. Brother, it's assumed because
Golden.
this is the text that we're reading. What the?
Right.
I don't know what's
Just
going
slow
on.
it. That this is what it is though, Divine. Like this
I see. All right.
this
So look, let me. Okay,
yeah.
I'm gonna be very, very meticulous with the brother. Okay. I'm gonna try to refrain from using words that you don't understand. Right. So I'm gonna keep it simple for you, so you don't get lost. I'm gonna say one more time. Maybe the word grievous threw you off. I'm gonna be very simple. What is one of the most bad things that can be done in the ancient Near East, or something that's considered bad, whenever a stranger is sojourning through your town? What is the one of the most bad things that you can do when a sojourner is passing through your town?
one of the most, not the most, but one of the most.
That's
Okay,
what I said,
one
brother.
of the
Yeah.
most. Okay, one of the most grievous things that you can do to a stranger that's passing through your town is actually killing that person because they'll be dead. Next. See how easy it was? Next.
Man, all right. So let me.
Wouldn't that be it,
Okay,
though? That's
so
the
let's
most
slow down,
grievous thing.
This
You
guy.
kill them,
brother,
right? That's the
brother,
Golden,
most grievous
Golden,
brother,
you
thing.
answered
brother.
it. Golden, you
Wow.
answered it. So let's let Divine
Yeah, yeah.
teach from his
So
perspective. If you can
yeah.
be
So
his
let me be even more precise. Wow. So if we was to use Genesis 18 and Genesis 19 as an example of what I just said to you, the question I asked, right? What would be one of the worst acts that you can do when a stranger is passing through your community?
Oh, you had to rephrase it because I got you when
No,
I said kill somebody.
no,
That
no,
would
no,
be the
no. I
worst.
did it
Because once
because
you kill somebody,
you're not
you only get
following,
one life. Ain't no coming back from that. So now you had to
brother.
rephrase it because I got you. So now Ask the question
You
again.
didn't get me. Brother, we're not in high school. You didn't get me, my brother. We're having a dialogue, right? So I'm
Right.
gonna say it one more time, right? Genesis 18 and 19, right, is an example. I'm giving you an example, right?
So let me go
Genesis
to it.
18 and
Genesis
19.
18, Genesis
Brother,
Genesis
brother,
18 and 19. Okay.
chapters 18 and chapters 19. What is one of the most worst acts that you can do to a stranger when they are passing through your community, your town, etc.? That's the question I'm asking you.
But
I'm gonna use some.
I don't see why I have to answer that question. I don't see what that has to do with anything. Like I could say
Okay,
anything. So what does that matter what I say?
brother,
You
you
just tell
cannot say
me what
anything
you think it
because you are
is.
restricted by the context. I gave you Genesis chapter 18 and
Yeah,
Genesis
make your
chapter
point. You
19.
don't need to shine. Just shine on your own. I didn't do that with
Need
you.
you
I
to
just told you what
shine,
it is.
bro.
Yeah, you
Shine,
trying to
brother. You
build your
have no
argument based
shine,
on me through some type of
sir.
interrogation or something. Just say it what you
Sir,
need to
that,
say. You don't have
that's
to be
that's
like
called that's called that's
Jeopardy,
called
Alex
brother. Slow
Trebek.
down, slow down, brother. That's called peer review, right? You ever had a paper graded by the teacher? Did you ever yell at the teacher and say, "Why you graded my paper?" That's the dude in high school that be telling the teacher, "Why you graded my paper?" Okay, so let's do this, right? I said Genesis chapter 18 and 19 is the context, and I'm just gonna answer it for you
Yeah, you
because
said we having
apparently you don't want to,
dialogue. So
brother.
from dialogue, it went to peer review. Okay, cool. You said we
No,
having a
that's what
dialogue,
this
and
is.
then you
Uh,
said
You
peer
have to be
Golden,
review.
just
interrogated.
right, right.
Brother,
It's getting
peer review requires you to be cross-examined based on claims and assertions that you put forth, right? You put claims forth that we're dealing with. Actually, the burden of going forward is on you. But nevertheless, I'm asking you questions, right? So we can see how precise you are with the assertion that you made in Ezekiel chapter 16. So I'm trying to show you something, right? In Genesis chapter 18, when those three strangers, right? One of them's called Yod-Heh-Wav-Heh or Yahweh or whatever you want to label it. They came through and Abraham saw them. What was the first thing that Abraham did when he saw them?
Dude, Abraham greeted them,
There
and
you go. Awesome.
he let them into
So,
his house. Okay.
gotcha. So you see, so this is not that difficult, right? In Genesis 19, when those strangers came to the gate of Sodom, who greeted them?
Dude, we just said Abraham, right?
No, brother, we in chapter 19 now. Please follow. Who greeted
Oh,
the two strangers that came to the gate at Sodom? Because Abraham was not at Sodom. Who greeted
so
them?
let's go. I don't remember. I didn't remember. So let's go back to Genesis 19. That's why I'm saying you asking me these questions is wasting time instead of you
divine.
just getting to the point.
Divine, if you would like for me to answer it, I
Go ahead,
possibly can.
Corey.
No, no, I'll answer. I just want to make sure I'm answering the right thing. So let's go to Genesis 19. What verse do you want me to read in Genesis 19? Because I was at Genesis 18. I just want to tell you it's an easy answer. It doesn't
It's
have
an
nothing to
easy
do with
answer. Then
me
that means you
reading
would be
anything.
answering instead of reading it. So you
So
have
what's
to
the
read it,
verse? I'm
right?
in Genesis 19 now. What's the verse?
So start at verse 1, my brother. I just told you what the question is. You're not,
Like
I don't
verse
think you're
1. Okay.
following, but
Okay.
correct.
And there came two angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground, and he said, "Behold, now my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet." So it was, according to this, it was Lot who greeted them. And like, what's your point?
Okay, so that's what we're talking about, right? So Genesis
Mhm.
18, Abraham saw these
Right,
strangers, and he did a
right,
similar action that we see Lot do in chapter 19, correct?
right.
Okay, so when he was sitting at the gate, was anybody there with Lot? Or was Lot by himself?
Well, from what it says, and there came two angels to Sodom at even, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom, and Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. It
Correct.
says from verse 1 that Lot was the only one at the gate. It says he sat
Thank
in the gate.
you. Okay,
Right.
brother, slow down. So this,
It doesn't say that there wasn't other people at the gate though. It
okay,
just said
okay,
Lot
brother,
sat in the gate.
brother, brother, definitely wasn't anybody else at the gate because the text is very
Well, it doesn't
explicit,
say
right?
that. Can you show me where it
So,
say that?
brother, slow down,
Yeah,
brother,
golden,
right?
golden. You don't have to fight. You don't have to fight. Like just read the text together. You don't have to fight.
But it
Man,
didn't say.
so
It said he sat at the gate. That don't mean it was people not standing up. It says he sat.
okay.
Right?
The reason why I'm
Is that
telling you
not
this,
logical?
okay, brother, I'm gonna shortcut this, right? Because I see you're not that
Okay,
surgical, meaning
please
you
do
don't take your
shortcut
time.
it, man, because
No,
you
no
taking too
problem.
long,
So,
man.
no, I'm not
You
taking
being
too
too
long, right?
loquacious.
brother, slow down for 1 second, right? This discussion that these brothers are putting on, and the
Big
reason why
Glock,
I
you've
like
been
this, brother,
talking like 10 minutes straight. You
brother,
getting most of
brother,
the mic time, so this is unfair.
brother,
They would
brother.
never allow
No,
me.
no, brother. Actually, it's very fair.
No,
If you
you've
look
been
at the
talking
chat,
for about
nobody wants to
20
hear.
minutes.
So, brother, you got to slow down for a second, brother.
Right, just
Brother, listen.
chill, Golden.
They would never let me do this crossfire. Like that.
Oh
I would
God.
just sit him down for a second. Just go
No, no,
ahead,
no,
bro.
no. Okay, okay, Corey, no problem. So let me just wrap it up, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that again, the reason why he's buying time, right, is because nobody's taken him this journey before, and that's the problem. These brothers rush and do all this stuff, and they're not considering everything that's being considered. In Ezekiel chapter 16, can you read that again, brother? I think it was Powell that read it.
All
Ezekiel
right, I got you.
16, I think it's verse 50.
You want to start at 48,
Yeah,
or
go
you
ahead,
want?
King.
Okay. As I live, saith the Lord God, Sodom thy sister hath not done, she nor her daughters, as you have done, you and your daughters. Behold, this was the iniquity of your sister Sodom. Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. And they were haughty and committed abomination before me. Therefore, I took them away as I saw good.
All right. So the reason why I brought this up for context, right? If we're referring back to Sodom and Gomorrah, the first thing that I mentioned to the brother was Genesis chapter 18, the first few verses. We see that when those three strangers come into town, Abraham greets them. He bows down before them and he entreats them or brings them into his house. In ancient Eastern culture, anytime a stranger will pass by your community, this is what you're supposed to do. And I'm going to show you this in Numbers chapter 20, verse 21, where Edom did not allow passage for Israel. This was one of the
Right.
reasons why Edom was judged. But let's slow down for a second because the brother wants to force homosexuality on Israel as a whole nation, which is insane. But the reason why I'm saying this is
Can
because
you start at 14, Divine Baba Kasha?
oh, anytime, King. All right, so you said 14 in what verse? I mean, what chapter?
Nah, the number 20 you bringing out. Can you start at
He's
14?
Oh yeah, no, you
yeah,
you
he's
you
saying
go ahead and
start
read
at
it out.
14.
You don't mind. Go ahead and read it, King.
Payal,
I
can you
got it
grab that
at
for
you want it?
King Divine Baba Kasha?
I got it if you want it. I'm
No,
here
go ahead and
already.
read it because you know he wants to save Edom too. So go ahead and read it.
All right, so I'm gonna start at 14 then. It says, and Moses sent messengers from Kadesh unto the king of Edom. Thus saith thy brother Israel, thou knowest all the travail that hath befallen us. 15. And our fathers, how our fathers went down into Egypt, and how we have dwelt in Egypt a long time, and the Egyptians vexed us and our fathers. And when we cried unto the Lord, he heard our voice and sent an angel, and hath brought us forth out of Egypt. And behold, we are in Kadesh, a city in the uttermost parts of thy border. Let us pass, I pray thee, although the all, let us pass, I pray thee, through thy country. We will not pass through the fields or through the vineyards, neither will we drink of the water of the wells. We will go by the king's highway. We will not turn to the right hand nor to the left until we have passed thy borders. And Edom said unto him, you shall not pass by me, lest I come out against thee with the sword. And the children of Israel said unto him, we will go by the highway. And if I and my cattle drink thy water, then I will pay for it. I will only, without doing anything else, go through on my feet. And he said, you shall not
Oh
go.
yeah, I'm back.
And Edom came out against him with much people and with a strong hand. Thus Edom refused to give Israel passage through his border, wherefore Israel turned away from him. And the children of Israel, even the whole congregation, journeyed from Kadesh and came unto Mount Hor.
Now, this is grounds for termination. Anytime you are inhospitable to a stranger or group of strangers that need passage through your community and you reject them like this is grounds for judgment. Now we can go into Torah and get more singular, but I'm going to or granular, but I'm going to refrain from that. Let's just stay on the topic, right? So we see
Divine,
Abraham.
are you saying that because that they were unhospitable in Sodom, That's why it was burned down.
What I'm saying that because of their inhospitality, it led to other grievous acts. First of all,
Okay.
in the ancient Greek, you do not hold on.
Okay,
You
I
do not.
got you.
I
I got
got you,
you
brother.
real quick.
Yeah. What I'm saying
Yeah, I
is,
have
you
one
do
more
not.
question. You answered me. That was cool. So
No,
in
no. Okay.
in
I just want to. Okay, okay.
Yeah, let him expound, bro, real quick.
Yeah, like let him finish, brother. Like, you know what I mean? He
Yeah, cause
teaching
I'm
the
trying to
point.
learn
Yeah,
shit.
so, no problem. So what I'm saying is, so another thing is, you don't press your way into somebody's door without being invited, right? So what I'm saying is, if you're haughty, you're gonna disregard anybody, and you're not gonna regard anybody at the same time. So when we see that only Lot was sitting by the gate by himself, he saw these two strangers. The town wasn't there because the town was not entreating strangers. They were not doing that. They could care less. And when you commit acts like that of selfishness, it leads to other grievous acts, such as the things that we saw that started to develop where they tried to grab the men in there and know them. So what we got to understand is the root cause of these issues that leads to other issues, right? The scripture says that in the book of James, right? So in Exodus in Ezekiel chapter 16, there's nowhere in that entire chapter, unless I'm mistaken. If I'm mistaken, somebody please correct me, where homosexuality is mentioned. It's not there. So why is somebody reading it in here? Because they want to say, oh, Israel was homosexual like the entire Sodom. No, 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 no. What
hold
happened
on,
was
Divine, it's
Israel
there.
had.
It's there. Divine is
Bro,
there.
stop here. Hold up, bro.
He said unless somebody could correct
Stop,
him,
stop,
so
stop, stop. Power
Okay,
TV,
I'm
stop
it's there.
interrupting.
okay.
No, it's not.
I
Stop
got you, my brother.
interrupting.
Okay, wait,
So
wait. So
star power. You can challenge after he lay his premise. You can go and demonstrate how it's there. It's not that deep. Just calm down. Go ahead, Divine.
yeah, I'm gonna give you some time to correct it. No problem, Star Power. But what I'm saying was now I forget maybe forget my thought. Man, what was the last thing I was just saying? Because somebody remind me.
Um,
Shoot.
You were saying the hospitality was what led to the other
yeah,
acts.
you were saying that it's not there. Homosexuality is not there in Ezekiel.
Okay. Yeah,
It
yeah.
was the
Okay.
yeah.
So I know what I'm saying. Thank you for that, brothers. So what I was saying is the difference is Israel, right, was given the law. You can't see no other nation that was given the law. The only way that you can commit an act more grievous than somebody else is if you know better. So because Israel was given the law, they were given laws that says, do not do as the other nations around you are doing. This is like we read in Leviticus, where it talked about witchcraft being abominable, right? They had the law. They knew better. So that's like me having two kids. I have an older son and a younger son. I tell the older son, listen, don't do A, B, and C. This is wrong. Don't do it. He knows. I don't tell the younger son that because I'm assuming that he should learn from his big brother, just like Israel's rising above all the nation. They're supposed to be an example of righteousness. But anyway, so if an act is committed and both of those brothers committed, who's going to get the harsher penalty? The one in ignorance or the one that knew better? See, this is how Israel is able to achieve a degree of sin that's above their neighbors when they committed acts about things that they know better not to do. And when we read what the charges in Ezekiel 16 was against Sodom, those are the things that Israel was committing that was an abomination, their haughtiness, because that leads to you not regarding the poor, right? Not feeding those who are in need, right? It leads to that. Israel knew better, and that's why what they did was even worse or more egregious than what their neighbor Sodom and Gomorrah has done. So, with that said, Star Power, you said that you find a passage in there that mentions homosexuality in Ezekiel chapter 16, correct? What verse is that, brother?
Well, I was gonna ask you,
Oh God,
because
What are
I
you?
thought you said it's
Star
there.
power. What are
no, I
you
wasn't trying
asking?
to come in. I wasn't trying to come in contention. I really was trying to
Hold
ask
You
these
on, hold
was
on,
questions.
trying to come in
Salaki.
contention
Salaki,
because you
real
was
quick.
interrupting the brother in the midst of his verse. I mean, in the midst of his bill, saying, "I found it. I found. I do have. You told me to cut you off if I can find it, and now
Yeah, he
you're
said if anybody could
confused.
find it.
Now you're confused on what's trying to be found.
No, 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 no. So he's basically saying that
Man, did you find
this.
the verse? Yes or no?
Thank you. Let's get to it. Star power. Where's the
Yeah,
verse that you said
Understand.
is there?
58, bruh.
Okay, okay.
58.
So
Alright
read
Just
it
tell
then.
me
then.
how you break down
No,
58.
no, no. Read it. Read it. You read it,
Okay, I'll read it then. If the moderators will accept that.
brother. Go ahead and read it, please. The mods are fine. Just read it,
All right.
please.
Thou hast borne thy lewdness and thy abominations, saith the Lord.
So show me the word for homosexuality there.
Lewdness, that would be sexual, and we know what the sexual immorality of Sodom was. So, the lewdness would be the sexual immorality.
Wow. All right. Let's slow down for a second. So you're saying that
Oh, can
automatically?
I be heard?
Yeah. Go
Can I
ahead.
be
We can
heard?
hear you, King. We can hear you. Go ahead, King.
Real quick, Divine Baba Kasha. This the thing Divine was going over. You brothers are not following along. This is literally before he began his education to the room, talking about the abomination there. And for you to come,
He cutting out.
You cannot be
You
heard.
breaking out, alright. Breaking up.
You in the
You
matrix,
cannot be
brother.
heard. I know where he went. I heard where he's going. He gave an excellent sermon. I really don't have nothing to say. I'm just trying to figure out if this abomination in Ezekiel pointed to anything that was
But
sexual.
see,
And
now
then when I get to
now
58
your
from
stance has
49, hold on.
changed because you was
When I get to
confident
58
that
from
you found it.
when,
Now
when
it's
I
like
get to,
I'm just trying to see if.
well, it's not my conversation. So I was adding. I'm going along with the debate. These two brothers having a debate. So I'm asking if there. What is this lewdness?
No, you're not
And
asking. You. The point was that he
well, I've
said,
already told you that that lewdness
just mute your
was
mic, Star Power,
sexual
because
immorality.
just mute your mic, because I think what you're looking for is some form of star power. I think that's what it is. That's why you're talking right now. You don't have a place. Your questions are not valid questions, and then your positions and challenges that you're taking up you don't even quite understand. I think you just want to be recognized. So just stay on mute if you're going to be a part of the panel, please, because you're just disrupting the bill and you're not even challenging properly. Verse 58
Um,
has nothing to do with
exactly.
homosexuality, and it doesn't even say that, and that's not even what lewdness is
Thank
pointing
you.
to.
This is to me, okay. The reason why I say that is because Star Power TV, right? In your profile, you said you're a biblical scholar. Is that true?
That's what it says.
No, no, I'm asking you, is that true?
Yes,
Hello?
He said
Okay.
yes.
So you're a biblical scholar, right? And so you've done papers and stuff,
yes.
okay? And you graduated cum laude somewhere or with a THD somewhere?
I have. I've been ordained and I graduated. Yes.
Okay, I said with a THD. Do you have a degree in the field of theology?
I was taught by a church. I didn't, have
Okay,
no
gotcha.
degree by school.
No problem. So, as a biblical scholar, the grounds in which you put that in your profile is the fact that you was ordained at a church and the church taught you. Correct? That's your qualifications for your scholarship. Correct?
That's part of it. That's what, but I don't think that church was. They didn't have no knowledge in my book.
Wait.
God
So,
actually. Hold on. Let me
go ahead,
You
give
Ken.
you.
Go
just
ahead.
said that
Okay.
you was taught by them.
Hold on.
This
They
is
didn't know
TV right
nothing.
here.
But go ahead, brother. Go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, they was pretty off. Them Christian churches. They was right on
Don't
some
worry about it.
things.
Star
Just like the
power.
Israelite
Don't
churches.
star power.
Just like the Israelite
Don't do
churches.
that.
Hold on.
Don't go in on the Christian church. He's just trying to get an understanding of your position. So far,
Okay, real
you
quick,
don't
real
just
quick.
mute your no. Just mute your mic. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. He's just asking you
Thank you,
questions.
Corey.
He just wanted to know if you was a biblical scholar. You don't have a THD. You was ordained by a church who don't know anything. So far, the vine is
Wow.
on you.
Okay, so the reason why I asked that is because I just want to know what is your hermeneutical approach when you come across a word like lewdness. How do you begin to understand what that word means?
Do you like the reason why I ask that? Because I just want to know what is your exegetical steps for interpreting a particular word in a passage, or what we call a lexeme in a passage. How do you approach that?
You would. It depends on what book you reading in,
Well, we just read
and if
Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 58 that you brought
you
out, the word lewdness. So I'm being concise.
you will go to the passage in Hebrew, find the word for lewdness that was used there in Hebrew, then you would look up that word in Hebrew, see what that word means, but then you would have to actually get that whole chapter in Hebrew, but at least by minimal that paragraph, so you can see how it rolls in context, because just the word itself won't define its context.
Gotcha. So are you versed in biblical Hebrew?
I'm not gonna say that because there's brothers here that's way more versed than me, and I look to them for that. So no,
Gotcha. It's just yes or no. No?
I'm
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
premature.
yes or no star power.
I'm
All right.
premature.
No problem, brother. So that word that you're talking about, it, zimathek, we it, to wa abo, taik, at nesatim, neum Yahweh, right? So that word that we're talking about for lewdness that's there is the word zima, right? Zima. That's the word for lewdness. If you go in there and you look up the definition, can you show me, and this is for anybody, right? And again, I'm not criticizing your background as a biblical scholar. I'm just saying when somebody puts that in a profile, there's a high expectation that I have in a dialogue or conversation. That's all I'm saying, right? I don't even have that in mind, right? But what I'm saying is, if this is the word that we see there, if you go to a simple lexicon, right, in the public domain, we have the Gesenius Chaldean Hebrew Chaldean lexicon, right? We have Strong's Concordance and his appendix that he uses as a lexicon. And we also have Brown Driver Briggs lexicon. All these people can get for free, Bible Hub, Blue Letter Bible, etc. Can you please go into any one of these lexicons and show us where homosexuality is what lewdness means? And see, this is what we were doing when we was dealing with the brother Golden. And again, I'm not here to shame anybody. The way that I speak is not intended to trigger anybody, get anybody upset. I just like to get people to stay engaged in the conversation. And if you sound boring, nobody's going to want to engage you. So it's nothing offensive to you, right, brother, right? I'm just simply asking. Please go
No, it's
into
okay.
any
It's
free
okay. I got
lexicon.
your question.
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. Go to any free lexicon and please find the definition of lewdness to be homosexuality. That's all I'm asking. Can you do that for us?
Okay, so oh, hold on. When I said the definition, right? Is there any vulgar sexual behavior in the word Zima? Is it any sexual immorality in Zima?
I think he may
Brother,
have
that's
missed
why I'm telling you
your
to look it up.
challenge, Divine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
Now
running
he's
from the
asking you.
challenge.
He's asking you to educate him on the word
Right,
Right,
homosexuality.
Wait. No, he told us that lewdness equates to
right,
homosexuality because of
right.
Sodom.
right.
He made that claim, not
Divine,
me.
but
And then he's asking me to help him give him the
divine,
definition. Like that's
divine,
crazy.
divine. Well, welcome to the gang. We have students that come into the room, and what they do is they hop from the teacher seats to the class clown seat to the teacher seat to the chair that sits in the front desk to the teacher's pet back to the class clown. They just hop around, so they're really students and they just present themselves in many different fashions. That's all it is. So, when he was challenging you, he didn't know how to properly say, "Hey, Mr. Divine Prospect, what about this verse right here? How would you understand this? I don't know what lewdness is. I don't have a clue what the Hebrew is, and my church failed me in my scholarship." He doesn't know how to properly say that, so he rather say it in a much more aggressive, black niggerish way to get son back in a certain pocket to then ask you a certain question when you ask him a question after he said after. This is every day for us.
Corey, he had the silver bullet. He told us he found
No, I just said sexual
homosexuality.
immorality. I said sexual
Brother.
immorality. All
Okay,
right.
okay,
Hold
okay.
on. Let
Star
me
power. Just
explain because y'all just gonna keep
okay. Go ahead.
going and going. When you asked, when me asking you was very rhetorical. Okay. What I'm saying when I'm asking you that is sexual immorality is equated to that word. Period. That's what I'm saying. That's my stance.
Okay, and
So
I'm
So
not.
now
Wait.
show us that. Show us it in the definition.
So star power. Listen to me, right? I'm gonna throw you a bone because I want to help you out here, right? If you look at the definition for lewdness, that word Zima, right? And you go in there, it means a plan, device, or wickedness. That's the most basic way of defining it, right? So just like when the brother was mentioning homosexuality earlier, whatever the case may be, he cannot prove an act was committed, but an attempt to do it was there, right? So given the favorable circumstances, it probably would have happened, right? But when we talk about lewdness, right? The things that we just read that was done, and this is in the context. Remember, nowhere in the context, Ezekiel 16, do we find the word homosexual. There's a word for that. It's not there, right? So what I'm simply saying is it's listed what the lewdness was. Remember, wickedness, something that is a device, a plan to do something that's wrong. Well, when you go up earlier in the earlier verses that we read, they was not regarding the poor. They did not want to feed them, right? At the same time, they were haughty. You know, the Most High talks about haughtiness in the book of Proverbs. That's something that he detests. He hates haughtiness, right? These are all lewdness. These are things that are devising plans to do something that's wrong. And the context of Ezekiel 16 lays out for you what those things are. So, what I'm saying is, if somebody says, yes, homosexuality is included, all I'm saying is you got to prove that because the text has a word in the Bible for homosexuality. It's nowhere in the entire chapter of Ezekiel 16. Nowhere. No verse that says that. But when it's talking about Israel, obviously the Most High knows there was not no homosexual nation. That's why he's not bringing that up. But when brothers want to force that onto the text, they do so because they say, oh, well, Sodom did this too. Well, Sodom probably did a million sins, but the Most High is focused on the ones that Israel was guilty of doing, and Israel should have known better because they had the law, not Sodom and Gomorrah. They didn't have the law. So this is why Israel is worse than them because of the things that he outlined. They should have knew better not to do, and they did it anyway. And all I'm saying is, please stop forcing homosexuality on the nation of Israel. Right? We know there were some wicked people amongst Israel, of course, but that doesn't mean everybody in there was homosexual. This is what your friend, I don't know if he's your friend or not, Golden was saying. He said they were the first LGBTQ community nation. This is what he's saying. The
Okay,
text does
hold
not agree
on.
with that, and you cannot take
Let me
somebody like that seriously, my brother.
okay, give me a
Go
little
ahead, my
space
brother.
to respond. Just a little
Sure,
air.
sure.
All right. So look how quick this is. Zima. Does it have sexual immorality? In the Strong's definition, yes, because it has adultery, okay, and licentiousness. If you look what that is, that's sexual immorality. So it does equate to that. And because it's lewdness equating to the lewdness of Sodom, I would say that it is fair. I'm not going to say that I stop there and roll with either side yet, because it's not my debate. I'm still in the middle of this, just getting hearing both sides. But when you say things like it's not sexual immorality, and I'm telling you it is, I'm not the liar here. Okay. I know exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, it is
Can I be
sexual
heard?
immorality. And when you equate it in the Strongs, it's sexual immorality. And when you equate it to Sodom, it's even more than just sexual
Corey, can I
immorality.
be
It
heard,
has a
Corey?
substance of the sexual
Yeah,
immorality.
okay,
So
hold on, my
all
brother.
that
One
you
of the
said
mods are
was
trying to
just for
talk,
no
Star.
reason.
One of the mods,
Yeah, hold
yeah,
on,
one of the
Star
mods is
Power.
trying to talk.
I think Orion trying to get in there. What's up, Orion?
Khan Salakia. It's a thing that Corey and Mahala says that's very Canaan, right? Etymology does not supersede context, which Divine's been teaching the whole time. So you went into a definition to find sexual immortality, but in the context in which that word is being used, there's no sexual immorality in the text. So it cannot be used as sexual immorality. It just cannot be used that way.
There is sexual immorality in the text because it equates to Sodom. That's the
Brother, show
context
it
where
to us in the
sexual.
show. Brother, we're not saying that Sodom and Gomorrah did not have any kind of lust desires to do the wrong thing. That's not what we're saying, my brother. And I don't think anybody up here is gonna say that they were right for pressing into Lot's house and grabbing the strangers to know them. We're not. That's not what we're saying. The problem we're saying is the claim that's on the table is that Israel was a nation of homosexuals and they were the first LGBTQ plus community. This is the claim that's being made by Golden. This is what he said. This is what he said. And what we're trying to show him was That's not true because you have no passage in the entire Bible that says Israel was a homosexual nation. That's number one. And number two, when we go into Ezekiel chapter 16, it's very specific with the acts that was charged against Sodom that Israel is being equated to be doing worse than them. It's not saying anything about, guess what? Really literal sexual sins because Israel would have to have been doing that for it to be called out. But because they were not a nation that was doing that, that's why you don't see it in Ezekiel 16. It's not there. So if we're going to refer to things such as other acts of, like you had mentioned, planning, devising wickedness, right? And this is what we read from the context because this is what Israel was doing because they knew better. If you know better and you devise to do wickedness, guess what? It's premeditated. That's worse than somebody who's just doing it in the moment because you're planning it, you're devising
Okay.
it, right?
Listen, I'm
Go ahead,
not I'm
my
not
brother.
here to have that. I'm just following along with what y'all debate was, and I'm listening and I'm just pointing out the error. What you're making it seem like is like, oh no, Sodom and Gomorrah didn't get destroyed because they had sexual immorality. They got
That's
destroyed
not what
because
I
they
said.
wasn't
That's
treating the
not what I said.
strangers right.
I didn't.
Okay,
No, no,
so
no,
hold on.
brother.
No, hold on.
Go ahead.
Let me just finish real quick because I'm gonna land this real quick. Okay, when you go to the Strongs, okay, and they
Star
in the
power, stop for a
Strongs,
second. Stop for a second. What is divine saying?
no, I'm
Right.
not. I'm not
God
against.
damn it.
I'm not against what Divine is ultimately saying. I haven't took a stance on that yet.
Stop for a second.
He's saying that Israel is
What is
not the first
divine saying?
LGBT community, gay people. He's saying that Israelites were not the first gay people, and he's also saying that Ezekiel doesn't point to any sexual immorality. I
No,
showed
no,
where
no. I said homosexual. Brother, listen to what I'm saying. I said homosexuality. Because remember, when Lot was refusing to give up the strangers, he gave up his daughters, right? He gave up his daughters. They said no, they didn't want to do that. They wanted to have the men, right? And they pressed their way in until they were blinded. So we're not, again, listen to what I'm saying. I'm not saying that Sodom, they did not commit those acts. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the Most High is not charging Israel with homosexuality as Sodom did, but the other acts that Sodom committed is what the Most High is condemning Israel for because they knew better. That's all I'm
okay,
saying.
so
That's
what
it.
sexual immoral act did they commit? That's what I was going to.
Star
That's why I
power.
brought out that verse.
Before you move there, do you understand that the chapter of Ezekiel, chapter 16, is not talking about homosexuality, in which is running the nation of Israel against or running parallel with Sodom? The discussion is not about homosexuality. It's about the topics that it mentions on the paper, which was pride, haughtiness, and not feeding the poor,
Yeah, those would be
greediness.
called. Okay, those will be called the iniquities, right? The iniquities is like your unfair behaviors. Okay, that's what could have got you out of being smashed on for the abominations. Okay, that's how I'm reading it. That hey, you guys had these iniquities, okay, and then you had these abominations on top of that. What are the abominations? When you go to Ezekiel, it says, Thou hast borne thy lewdness in thine abominations, saith the Lord. Okay, what is this lewdness equated to? Well, when you go to Strong's, well, what's the Strong's definition? Zima, the lewdness would be one of the words for Zima. But when you go down to Brown Driver Briggs Hebrew lexicon, that same word would be licentiousness. So
No, the word,
basically,
brother. Wait. In the lexicon, it's unchastity. What is unchastity, my brother?
go ahead, explain.
No, so licentiousness that you have mentioned is not the only thing under the umbrella of unchastity. So anybody here can go to BibleHub.com. You're gonna go to Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 43. You're going to click on the interlinear at the top. And what you're going to look for in the interlinear is the word for lewdness, right? You're going to click on the Strong's number for that, which should be 2154, right? And it's the word Zima, right? And when you scroll down, right, to the brown driver breaks, it gives you, in the first sense, it's a noun feminine, meaning it's a plan, device, or wickedness, right? And it gives you I, Roman numeral I, one is the plan or purpose, right? Not even in a bad way. Matter of fact, the first definition of it is in a good way. I just want you to understand, my brother, right? So going down to the second entry in a bad sense, you see that? It's making a contrast to the previous or what preluded it, right? It says an evil device, right? B, wickedness. C, of unchastity. That is the umbrella term. Then you have a colon, and then it lists out everything underneath that umbrella term. If you look into here, the word homosexuality is nowhere in here at all. It's not there.
Okay.
And
So
if I'm wrong, can somebody, anybody that's following along who's in Bible Hub, can you please pull up for us? Now, the brother say it's inferred because of what Sodom did, but how do you know that homosexuality was the only act of lewdness that they committed? How do you know that? You don't know that. I don't know that. I wasn't there.
Right.
We just had one example of a disrespect of Lot's house, which is inhospitable. You do not press into somebody's house unless you are invited. It doesn't matter what the cause or the reason for. They had no regard for the strangers. They were prideful because that's the only thing that would make you do something and bust in somebody's house like you own it, like that's your house. And because of that, those sins that was egregious, other things sprang from that or sprouted from that. But what Israel was charged for, that was making them associated with Sodom, are the things that the text lays out specifically. We don't have to read anything else into it. The text is clear. It tells us what those charges are. We read it. It's laid out. It's there.
God,
So I just want people to stop reading homosexuality into Israel because they want to make Israel look bad unnecessarily. They want to put things in the word that's not there, and they want to simply equate Sodom, act like Sodom only did one act of wrongness. Sodom did a whole bunch of things wrong, but the things that made Israel worse than Sodom is that they had the law, they knew better, and the Most High laid out through the prophet Ezekiel what the charges against Sodom was, and that is why Israel was wrong because they knew not to be haughty. They knew not to look at the poor. They knew these things. It's in the law. And they did it anyway. And that's what made them worse than Sodom and Gomorrah, not homosexuality. That's all I'm saying.
uh, and
okay,
I
yeah,
think
and I
I think that
and I
this
love
I think
that.
that this
Break.
is the what star power. I think you need to take a step back. Like you need to. I don't know if you have a Bible open, right? So with both pages like fold flat, laying down with the gravity, just the weight of the pages like open, so that you can not only look at this verse but read the chapter because you fell into someone else's grave is what you did, and you started rolling around in it, digging with the brother, because this chat you hyper focused on a phrase and trying to make a point about Israel committing homosexuality instead of looking at the point of the chapter, right, where this is the Most High God blasting them for not only how they're treating each other, but overall their idolatry. When you go up to the beginning of this chapter,
Thank you. Thank you, Jay.
right? When you go to the beginning of the chapter, it says, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abominations. Thus saith the Lord God unto Jerusalem, Thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan. Thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother a Hittite. This is not literal, but this is figurative language. Notice how the Most High God is using other nations to bring Israel to their shame. But why is he doing that? Right? You keep watching, you keep reading, as you keep reading this chapter, he's going to show how the Most High God took Israel and exalted her, put jewelry on her, her breasts were fashioned and thy hair was grown, and had excellent ornaments and all of those things, right? How he covered her nakedness, and he was basically the Most High God as using this to say, like, you're my wife, you belong to me, but you became a whore, right? He uses the word whoredom. If you go into the definition and look up the Hebrew and go to the Strong's H and look up all the definitions that the white man used to try to give you an understanding of what this word could possibly mean in general, right? In every possible usage of this word in the rest of the Bible, yeah, you're going to see definitions of whoredom. But you can't take that literally and say, oh, Israelites were selling their daughters and passing them around like hookers. they could have possibly done that, but that's not the point of the context of this actual verse. But you fell for someone else's hole because that person is not wise. He just wanted to come up here and make a point to try to battle somebody, and you followed along, and now you're a blind man being led by a blind man into the ditch, that hole
Oh,
that man was digging. You
okay,
understand
Jake,
what
I
I'm
got
saying?
you.
Jake just
Yeah, I
killed it.
understand what you're
Jake,
saying, Jake.
hold on,
And Divine.
real quick.
Wait, because you just
Wait.
spoke a grip. You just laid it out. All right. And I just wanted to give you your props real quick because you explained right before Jake started talking, you explained exactly what I was asking to explain. Like that's what I threw in there. You just have to have some kind of stance on how you said what you had said. When you was talking, you had said there's nothing sexual about Ezekiel. And I just
No,
pointed out, no, brother,
I said,
there
brother, I said,
is.
brother, listen. I said homosexual. That's the context because the claim that's on the table
Right.
is that Israel was the first LGBTQ plus community nation.
I
This
got
is
you,
the claim on
Divine.
the
Hold
table.
on. I
So
got you,
brother,
Divine,
wait,
but
so
that's
brother,
not what happened.
Star
That's
power.
not. I know what happened because I never used sexual. I never said. I mean, I'm sorry. I never said homosexual. I always said no. There is sexual immorality. I'm not saying. I'm not giving the homosexual a debate. I'm not taking a position on that. I just said no. There is sexual immorality. And since it does point to Sodom, what do you say? Okay, you say yeah. There's all kinds of sexual immoralities that it could be pointing to, and it doesn't just have to point there. And you went into your spiel on what it could mean. Fine, that's between you and that brother. Y'all should bring him back up to finish. But I just
no,
wanted
but
to make it
you
clear that it
stepped
was
in and said
sexual
you had the
immorality.
verse.
You said there was
Brother,
nothing
you
sexual
stepped
about
in.
Ezekiel.
Brother, I said there was no
Yeah,
verse in the entire chapter of Ezekiel 16 that mentions homosexuality. And I said, if I'm wrong, can somebody bring me the
No,
passage that
that's
says
that's exactly
homosexuality?
what you said, Divine. That's exactly what you said.
Right.
And you jumped in the
Con.
conversation and said, yes, I got it. But you said that, right? Now we're educating you. Matter
okay.
of
I
fact,
heard sexual. I heard there's
brother, hold
nothing
on. Brother,
sexual in Ezekiel
brother, I
about
didn't say
sexual
nothing.
morality.
Brother, listen, slow down for 1 second. Let me read something for you real quick. Maybe you don't want to take my word for it, but I'm going to read the Brown Driver Briggs Lexicon, and we're going to go to entry 2C, right? Just follow. I just want you to see this because what Jake said, Jake just put the exclamation mark on it, and it's not to berate you, my brother. It's trying to give the audience clarity that when people jump up here and throw these wild accusations out there, it goes to show that they have an agenda, and therefore what they're speaking is not objective, and it's very difficult to learn from somebody like that. Let's read what the entry says, and maybe you may agree with this other than outside of me. It says in 2C of unchastity, incest, in Leviticus 18:17. So what the entry is doing is showing you the verses that align with what is being defined, right? So for lewdness, Zima, to mean incest, it gives you Leviticus 18:17, Leviticus 20:14, twice in the verse. Licentiousness, where? In Leviticus 19:29, which means this is not Ezekiel, my brother. So let me I'm just helping you, right? Let's keep going. Judges 20:6, it means what? Licentiousness, the same thing, right? Licentiousness, adultery in Job 31:11. Now watch this. Frequently, mostly in Ezekiel, you see that? Mostly in Ezekiel, what does it mean? A metaphor of idolatry, of people under figure of harlotry and adultery. Now, my brother, I know clearly
Mm.
you know what a metaphor is, right? And this is what Jake was trying to explain. He didn't try, he did it, and he gave us the entire context when you read the first 12 verses. It's not meaning that they literally did any kind of sexual act. Idolatry is a metaphorical sexual act. It's not a literal one. There's nobody having sex with idols. But when you, knowing that you're married to Yah, decide to go and cling unto another idol, then you're going against Exodus chapter 20 that says you should not put any other gods before me. You are now breaking the covenant that you have with Yah, and you are harlotting or being a whore after other gods. Does not mean literal. Even the definition here in Brown Driver Briggs, it disagrees with anybody that says anything other than what is laid out in Ezekiel. And guess what? They give you all the verses in Ezekiel. And guess where some of them are at? Well, Ezekiel 16:27, Ezekiel 16:43. And guess what? Your verse, Ezekiel 16:58. Brother, this is why I asked you, if you're a biblical scholar, I wanted to know your approach to defining a word, because if you don't know it, right? And you say you're a biblical scholar, then we're gonna have questions for you. That's all I'm saying, my brother. It's not to any hate towards you, no shade. I love you, my brother. But please, my brother, before you jump out there, right? Because I know what I'm talking about. I've covered this ad infinitum years ago, right? I just want you to take time and just listen. And when I say there's no word for homosexuality and the entire chapter of Ezekiel chapter 16, it's because I know it's not there. I know it's not there. And even the lexicon does not agree with anybody that says it is. And with that, I yield. I'm done.
Yeah, I mean, in that, I can hear your point. You're saying, like, okay, it's idolatry. That's what they did. Okay, fine. I get that's a good standpoint to have, just to have a standpoint. But then when it says more, like, okay, they've done more than Sodom. Okay, they've done more in their idolatry than Sodom did and whatever they
No,
did.
wait,
I
wait,
get that.
wait,
Hold
wait,
on. I
wait,
get that too.
wait,
I,
wait, wait,
why I have
wait,
to wait? I just said I get
Cause
that. I'm
he's a
not
wait,
standing
moderator.
on that
wait,
Mute
point.
up.
I'm going to
wait.
somewhere
Mute
else.
up.
Power TV, wait. Everything you about to say is non and void. Makes no sense. The point you're arguing was sexual immorality. The contention on the table was homosexuality. Divine has eloquently explained that Ezekiel 16 is not talking about homosexuality. Jake came up, Divine just confirmed it through the lexicon that is defined there for adulterous behavior in Israel. And here you go about to try to go on a diatribe that has nothing to do with Ezekiel 16.